On April 26th, Entertainment Weekly revealed the latest news surrounding Sony Pictures' long-in-gestation reboot of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. According to the publication, McG, the latest in a long line of directors to be attached to the production, is no longer attached to the production. However, writer David Goyer has become attached instead and is set to write the script. The publication also claimed the movie would be set for release on December 18th of 2019, which was later confirmed by Exhibitor Relations. The next we learned about the movie was on May 13th, when Comicbookcast claimed to have learned from their inside sources that the orders from Sony to the filmmakers were that Skeletor could not be featured in the first movie, presumably to build him up, Thanos-style, for sequels. In this video, I will go through everything we've learned about the movie so far, the release date, the writer, and No Skeletor, and give my take on why Sony might have made the choices they made, and what this fan thinks about them. If you've seen our earlier videos, you'll know that this is the first Midnight's Edge video devoted to He-Man, unless you count the thankfully defunct Barbie vs. He-Man crossover, that is. But if you follow us on Facebook and participate in the group, you'll also know that this won't be the last He-Man video, as I happen to be a huge Masters fan. It is a property I am very familiar with. In fact, there are no other properties which have had anywhere near the same profound impact on me. The details of what Masters of the Universe means to me and the importance I attach to it, I will save for another video, if you are interested in hearing about it. For now though, suffice to say that a proper He-Man movie is not just something I've always wanted, it is something I desperately want to see done right. As such, I am not altogether happy with what we've learned so far. Ignoring for a moment that the movie should have been out 5 years ago, as those who were there in the brand's heyday will at the very least be pushing 40 by the time the movie comes out, December 18th is a fantastic release date. There are two reasons for this, and they are connected. If done right, Masters of the Universe has every bit the same story and box office potential as Lord of the Rings, a property which rocked the world in winter. Americans will show up for movies like that, despite it being released outside of the summer blockbuster season. Furthermore, the Masters of the Universe brand may be held in even greater esteem in Europe today than it is in America. And unlike summer, Europeans go to the cinema in winter, so releasing the movie then really works out. And, if it is a great movie, even those in growing markets that have never been exposed to He-Man before still might show up for it. So kudos to Sony for picking that date, but really, they don't deserve that much credit. You see, Sony's He-Man movie license will expire at the end of 2019 and revert back to Mattel unless the movie is out by then. The fact that an Outlook notification must have went off somewhere and alerted Sony that now is the time to or get off the pot just might have factored into the choice of release date more so than other considerations. There is not a lot I can say about the director right now, as at the time of making this video there isn't one, which is a step up for McG, because now at least we have the hope that they might eventually pick someone who will be right for the project. But it is unfortunate that there isn't anyone locked in yet, because until a director is firmly on board, the project will remain in a state of flux, with more steps sideways than strides forward. The good thing about attaching a writer like Goyer to the project is that it signals that this is important to them, and that they are planning on giving it the proper blockbuster treatment. The bad thing about Goyer is that as a writer, he is only as good as whatever director he is working under and brainstorming with. When working with a director like Chris Nolan, Goyer has written both Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. But when working with a director like Zack Snyder on the other hand, Goyer also wrote Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. When working with Guillermo del Toro, he wrote Blade 2, but when left to his own devices, he wrote and directed Blade Trinity. Judging from his past output, Goyer isn't going to cough up a great He-Man script unless he works with a director who gets the property and has a very clear vision of how it should be repackaged for audiences today. And hopefully, that director will combat silly directives from Sony. According to Armin of Comicbookcast fame, Sony has mandated that Skeletor not be present in the first movie, presumably so that he can be built up to some Thanos-level threat for sequels. Given Armin's track record, and Sony's past and current history of trying to build cinematic universes, including where none should be built, I see no reason to doubt the accuracy of this. I know some out there are all in favor of giving Skeletor the Thanos treatment, which is a fair opinion to have. I, however, do not share that sentiment. On the contrary, to me that is a very clear indication that the higher-ups at Sony don't understand the property, its characters or their relations, and therefore make amendments which run the risk of being extremely detrimental to the finished product. I'll explain why I feel the way I do using Marvel villains as a comparison, as that is probably the only language that Sony understands. To begin with, Thanos is a cosmic-level threat, like Galactus. As far as the roster of the Avengers goes, he is more like a god and a force of nature than a person, and it wasn't until Guardians of the Galaxy, the 10th MCU movie, before we met anyone with any kind of personal ties to him. Thanos is a universal existential threat, one that, by and large, does not have any kind of personal relation to our main roster of heroes. Skeletor is not a Thanos-level villain, and treating him as such would in my opinion be doing the character a disservice. Better Marvel comparisons for Skeletor would be Loki, Magneto, Doctor Doom, or even Norman Osborn, and Skeletor should in my opinion be treated as such. A recurring villain, one with a personal connection to the heroes, and one we the audience know and to some level care for, every bit as much as we do the heroes. Skeletor might have started out as a demon from another dimension in his very first incarnation, but as the Masters of the Universe backstory evolved, so did that of Skeletor. The last batch of minicomics alluded to it, and both the Mike Young animated series and every later incarnation have been built around it. Skeletor is in fact Keldor, the bastard half-breed son of King Nero, and half-brother of King Randor. King Randor is of course Prince Adam's father. That's some great Shakespearean stuff right there, and any screenwriter worth their salt can develop that angle further. In many of the past incarnations, Skeletor has been the most developed character by far, and his relationships with his underlings, most notably with Evil Lyn, is often more compelling than any relationships between the heroes, depriving the audience of what could be great character moments between Skeletor and Evil Lyn, let alone Skeletor and Miro and Randor. Just to make him a Thanos-level villain instead of a Loki or Magneto-level villain, I feel would be a great mistake. And it's not like Masters of the Universe don't have any other villains that fit the Thanos bill. Hordak might have started out as the bumbling underling of Horde Prime, but as the brand has evolved, Hordak has become a Thanos-level threat himself. He is not alone, the ancient forgotten enemy of King Hiss fits that bill too. Between Skeletor, Hordak and the Snake Man, Sony has material for at the very least 3 movies right there, or even more if they plan on pacing things out and doing it all justice. And if they really want a He-Man cinematic universe, which can lead to even more movies, they can always spin off into She-Ra, bring back Horde Prime, and even tie in Marshall Bravestar, one of the most underrated cartoons ever made, and which Filmation intended to be part of the He-Man universe. In short, Skeletor shouldn't be the ultimate devil of the franchise. He should be the devil you know. Beyond that, in most past incarnations, it was the threat that Skeletor represented that led to Adam becoming He-Man in the first place. What other throwaway villain could possibly replace Skeletor in this capacity? Count Marceau? No thanks. Don't mess this up for me, Sony. Not before a director who hopefully knows what the hell he's doing has been attached. We'll keep you up to date as we learn more, and we have some other cool He-Man related revelations planned for future videos, so stay tuned for that. Till then, let me know your hopes for He-Man and Skeletor in the comments.
If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button. Join us for spin-free news and analysis of the happenings and corporate politics behind the scenes of your favorite genre movies, as well as explorations of your favorite characters and their backgrounds and context here at Midnight's Edge.